Mr. Speaker, he did not answer the question about the National Crime Agency. No answer to investigating dodgy Labour ministers, just as last week he didn't want an inquiry that might expose dodgy Labour councils. The Prime Minister knowingly appointed a convicted fraudster as his Transport Secretary. The anti-corruption minister he had full confidence in only days ago resigned yesterday in disgrace. He is negotiating a secret deal to surrender British territory, and taxpayers in this country will pay for the humiliation. Now it turns out his government may write a cheque to compensate Jerry Adams. This is shameful. We left him the fastest growing economy in the G7. In just 6 months, under his leadership, it's been taxes up, borrowing up, mortgage rates up, and that's not all. Business confidence is down, jobs are down, growth is down. Can the country afford 4 more years of his terrible judgments?
Mr. Speaker, among that barrage of complete nonsense, there is one point that I need to address, because it's the Legacy Act, and it will be of real interest across the House. That Act was unfit because, or not least because, it gave immunity to hundreds of terrorists and wasn't supported by victims in Northern Ireland, nor, I believe, by any of the political parties in Northern Ireland. The court found it unlawful. We will put in place this is a serious point. We will put in place a better framework. We're working on a draft remedial order and replacement legislation, and we will look at every conceivable way to prevent these types of cases claiming damages. And it's important I say that on the record. But as for her claim and her nonsense, they crashed the economy. Mr. Speaker, I got a letter this week from a Tory voter in a Labour seat. I hope they don't mind me saying who it was. It was Liz Truss. Mr. Speaker, it wasn't written in green ink, but it might as well have been. She was complaining that saying she'd crashed the economy was damaging her reputation. It was actually crashing the economy that damaged her reputation. Mr. Speaker, what have we heard? All they've got is complaining. No defence for their sorry record. They don't even acknowledge it. No ideas, no policy. They're like a blank piece of paper, blowing hopelessly in the wind. No wonder the country put them in the bin.
Jim Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Patients in Kent are experiencing a winter crisis resulting from years of underinvestment in our NHS. Many are having to be treated on trolleys in corridors with cases of winter flu and other viruses, providing a significant challenge to local health services. What assurance can the Prime Minister offer my residents in Dartford that the reforms and extra investment set out by the Secretary of State for Health will make this inadequate care a thing of the past, and would he visit Darrant Valley Hospital in Dartford with me?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank him for raising this, and I'm deeply sorry for those receiving inadequate care in his constituency. The last government left the NHS in a critical condition, but you can't deliver growth with record waiting lists, 2.8 economically inactive. Our plan for change, investing in the NHS, diagnostic centres, and I will, of course, consider his invitation.
Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I echo the words of the Prime Minister about President Trump, and hope both his team and the team of President-elect Biden can work together to bring President-elect Trump and President Biden can work together to bring the peace in Gaza we so desperately need, so the hostages can be released, we can get the aid in, and the killing can stop. Mr. Speaker, as the honourable member for Dartford just said, patients are suffering through the worst NHS winter crisis on record. Last month alone, 54,000 people waited more than 12 hours in A&E. Over 63,000 were stuck in ambulances for over an hour before they could even get into hospital. So there's no doubt the flu season has made the winter crisis worse. But we see these winter crises year after years of neglect of the NHS by the Conservatives. NHS leaders say we will never put an end to these winter crises unless we fix the crisis in social care. Now, I asked him this question last week and I was disappointed in his replies. I'm going to try again. Will he scrap the 3-year timetable he's given to the Casey Commission so he can fix social care this year and implement the reforms by the end of this year at the latest?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, on the talks towards a ceasefire, we are encouraged by the talks. I think the whole House would urge all to come to an agreement and have the hostages released. We all understand the absolute torture that their families are going through every single minute, every single day that this continues. So we hope that there can be progress there. In relation to the NHS, he's absolutely right. The party opposite left it on its knees. There's no point groaning. It is absolutely disgraceful that the NHS was left in the state that it was in. Absolutely disgraceful. We are investing to turn that around. We are reforming to turn that around. We are within that reform dealing with social care. I set out the timetable to him last week in the way that he knows it's set out.
Sir Ed Davey.
Speaker, I'm continue to be disappointed by the Prime Minister's position on social care, and I'm going to keep coming back to this issue because unless we fix it, we won't fix the NHS. But turning now to the economy, an idea for the Chancellor to grow the economy. As President-elect Trump prepares to take office next week, there are reports that a number of wealthy, high-skilled Americans are looking to come to the UK for fear of what President-elect Trump will do to their country. But because the Conservatives so broke the immigration system, many of them are finding there's no visa that they can apply for. Now, I know the Prime Minister is rightly seeking to reduce immigration from the record highs of the Conservative. But does he agree, if people like this want to come to our country, to bring their money and their skills so we can grow our economy and pay for our public services, they should be able to?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we welcome all investment into the United Kingdom, and I'm very pleased we've had record investment in the time that we've been in office and continue to welcome investors and investment to this country. But he's absolutely right. The last government lost control of immigration as they lost control of health and the economy and the borders and everything else. And it was, of course, the Leader of the Opposition who was championing the driving up of the numbers. So we will bring those numbers down. We'll get it back under control. We'll encourage investment.
Christine Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dental deserts mean that routine dental checkups and treatment is often unavailable in local communities. In my constituency, we've had a dedicated space for dental practice in the Blackburn Partnership Centre since 2018, but NHS Lothian has been unable to secure a dental practice. What steps will the Prime Minister take to work with devolved governments to improve access to local NHS dentists across the UK?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank you for raising this issue, and it shows the state of public services under the SNP. Mr. Speaker, if you can believe it, a third of Scots struggle to access dentistry, and a quarter of Scottish children start primary school with tooth decay. That is really shocking. Clearly, there's much, much more the SNP should be doing. They should be ashamed. When a quarter of children are starting school with tooth decay, that is nothing to crow about. It's something to be ashamed of. Mr. Speaker, here we're delivering additional 700,000 appointments, reforming the contracts, and of course we'll work with the Scottish Government to improve the health of children in Scotland.
Jim Allister.
Given President Trump's antipathy to the EU, how does the Prime Minister hope to attain a trade deal for the whole United Kingdom in circumstances where the trade laws affecting part of the United Kingdom, namely Northern Ireland, are the EU's trade laws, and in circumstances where the laws governing goods and the standards of those that can be imported are EU laws? How, in those circumstances, can a deal be obtained for the whole United Kingdom, Or is the Prime Minister